I just want to take today to show you the ground rules on how we're going to do the dial in finance. It's called dial in finance. We're going to do these every Friday. So if you can show up, just make sure you RSVP. It's always going to be at this same Zoom address. So it shouldn't be hard to find. And then, so if you forget to RSVP or whatever and you hop in real quick, it's always going to be bravecave.co/Zoom. So not hard to get to. And we're really just going to use this time to focus in on really these things called dials. And it's all part of the finance quadrant. If we want our revenue to continue to grow and our numbers to get better, we've got to actually focus on them. And so we got to have a weekly practice where we're actually paying attention to our number. So our profit doesn't lag and we don't check out and then all of a sudden come back into our numbers and find that we've drifted a little off of reservation and we're in a challenge. All right. So um this is the other big thing is and you guys have heard me talk about this too, where we try to avoid this, and a lot of times I find we avoid it because we don't like to get caught up in the minutia of the numbers, whether it's on the P&L or the balance sheet or in the CRM. And so this idea of really just tracking 5 dials or something less than 5 dials that give us an indicator of whether the business is going in the right direction is a lot easier to digest and for us to actually go after than to feel like every week we have to look at like mountains and mountains of data. And so that's kind of the impetus of this is to get around with some other people who are dealing with the same issues, but we're only going to look at our dials. We're not going to look at all of the business itself. Make sense?
Okay. Yes.
All right. So again, weekly, just these dials, and then we're going to have some conversation as a team. We're not going to go through a whole bunch of slides every single month. We're really just going to get to the quick and get into the dials for everybody. We're not looking for people to grandstand. We may at times bring some people in who are experts in certain things, especially if we notice that we're all talking about the same thing over and over again, or we want someone to talk and get a little bit clearer about a certain subject. I will go out and bring an expert in so that we can go into that specific subject. So when I think of 5 dials, these are the 5 dials that I find have the most impact and help me see issues so that I can dig deeper. And again, when we say 5 dials, we're looking for dials that if they're going in the wrong direction, then we lean into the details. But I always find these 5, especially as a business owner or a high achiever, are the best, and we can talk through each one of these. So the first is what we call genius time. So for me, it's thinking, drawing, and talking. How much time did I spend this week in my zone of genius versus something else in the business? Because if I'm out of my genius, I know I'm not as effective in the business. The next one is free time. And that means how much time do I have outside of all of that to do what I like, just mess around, have fun, get out and enjoy life. So that's what free time is. Revenue is money coming in. So again, sometimes you're going to be looking at this personally. Sometimes you're going to look at this in regards to the business. It doesn't really matter which way you want to look at it, but that's what we're talking about when we're talking about revenue. Profit, this is the money that you keep. Genius time, is this growing or is this shrinking is what we want to look at. So you're going to want to think about how are you going to measure your genius time and do you know what your superpower is? So like for me, I'm in my zone of genius right now. So I know that my genius time is not going to be going over my credit card statements and my expenses and plugging them into my financial software. My genius time also isn't being on social networks, posting stuff on social or looking at those metrics. And so because they're not, I need a team or I need to outsource those things to other people so that I can spend time talking to you, drawing, and then thinking through different concepts. So that's when I think about looking at my activity every day, am I living in my zone of genius? Or is there something that keeps pulling me into doing something that I know zaps my energy or slows our progress down because I'm not working in my superpower? The next one is free time. So this is pretty straightforward. Right. So, but I love the questions here because I think this kind of drives the point home a little bit in regards to the power of free time. So you guys both own your own business and the business should be serving you at some level. And so that's what we want to start to measure in regards to our free time in this dial is are you basically owned by the business or is the business serving you? Right. And so we should be able, as we start to get involved in this process, start to kind of see, are we getting more effective in enjoying our life or are we letting the business just completely consume us? We want to be able to see that on a weekly basis so that we know when we want to lean in a little more on free time, take a little bit more time off because we know we're entering a season that's going to be busy. Right. Pretty straightforward. All right. So revenue. This is obviously pretty straightforward. It's the money flowing into your business or into your personal life. But what we want to eventually get it to is where it's predictable, where we know what's going on in our business or in our personal life and we can account for it. We don't have a lot of surprises. The one thing I hate about revenue when I first start business is the surprise element. As we have a mature business, we should be getting to a point where we start to see predictability and we understand where we are in our revenue. Doesn't mean that we want it to be static or be like a straight line. We want it to continue to grow, but we want to be able to predict it. This is all about the money that we keep. You can have the most gigantic revenue business on the planet and still lose your ass. I'm never impressed with someone who tells me they have a $50 million business. I'm much more impressed by how much profit that actually generates. Right? There's lots of businesses that can do $50 million and lose $10 million. And there's a lot of businesses that can do $1 million and make $600,000. I'd much rather have that business. And so that's why we like to look at revenue. It's important as a growth driver, but more importantly is we want to make sure we're putting more profit in our pockets, right? So that's the reason for this dial. And then we're down to leads. And so this one has a couple little elements to it that I think are kind of interesting. Traditionally leads are just, hey, who are the targets that we're going after, where are they in the stage of warming them up? Where are they in regards to, do we feel like how many of those will actually become future opportunities to us? And when I say, is our pipeline alive, what I'm saying is, do we see a flow going through our opportunity funnel? We want to if I think about, opportunities, it's awareness, interest, intent, valuation, negotiation. I want to see stuff going through my funnel. I don't want to see stuff get stuck. Like a lot of times, if you hired salespeople, you've probably seen this before too, where they don't like to say that something has been closed lost because they don't want it to leave their pipeline. And really what we care about when it comes to our pipelines is we want a yes or a no. Those maybes that get stuck in our pipeline are garbage. All they do is suck time out of our life. So we want to see an active pipeline. We want to see opportunities flowing through at a clip that sets itself up with the cadence in how you're running your business. We all have different seasons. So the quadrants and the things that affect our business are going to be a little different, but there's going to be a lot of similarities. And that's what I love about getting more people into the Friday calls, because we'll be able to see some consistency, but we'll also be able to help each other. So we're going to share wins. We're going to name some setbacks and we're going to swap some ideas, right? That's kind of the reason for Friday and what it's all about. It's going to work because it's going to give us a chance to stop hiding from our metrics. And we all have done it before, right? And force us to get on a call, have a conversation, be able to speak logically about our business. And so it's going to force us all to prepare. If you were like me growing up in school, like I didn't do my book reports until the day before the book report was due. And I probably didn't even read the book. And so that's what we're trying to kill here, is we're trying to make sure that we're prepared at least once a week on our numbers, which is better than what most of us are doing today. I'm just going to make sure we kind of stay on point, make sure that even though we have the F4, we're really focusing on the dials and we're focusing on the finance quadrant. I'm going to try to ask better questions to hold everybody accountable and kind of hold us to a schedule so that I can get you in and out of these calls. So they're not a suck on your time. We're going to adjust weekly, not yearly, and we're never going to be perfect, but we are going to be aware and we are going to understand where our business is going. So usually that's what it takes to actually make this thing work and make it work for you. And that's really it.